Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, August 2nd, 2019. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Friday, everyone. Well, we're the day after a major turnaround here in the markets. What we saw in the previous session was a significant rally to start the day. Price rallied almost within distance here of the 3016 FOMC key level. That's the FOMC key level that we saw on Wednesday afternoon. Price got up to that zone and then turned around tremendously and sold off back below the 2960 level. That's our key level that we've been talking about throughout the month of July. That turnaround was triggered in part by Trump's tweets regarding additional China Trump tariffs, and that's very similar to what happened last time back in May. So May 1st here we had the FOMC key level come out, and price sold off tremendously as it did on Wednesday. Price came back to that level and tested it, and then the Trump tweets regarding China tariffs came out Sunday evening, and that triggered selling pressure. And then we saw another round of that on a Sunday evening, selling pressure, another round of it and selling pressure, and that kind of triggered the cascading sell-off in May. We're seeing the same type of price action again, the same type of geopolitical tweets again, and that has led to another round of selling pressure already. So again, this is what I mentioned before. We are at highs. We have the FOMC key level up here at 3016. It went offered initially. I mentioned that we could rally all the way back to that level and it would likely be offered again, and that's exactly what occurred yesterday. We have now broken back below the 2960 level. 2960 is a very significant level. It's where the previous high is here in May. It's the key range high. We have formed a box above that key range high, and when we take out the 2960 level, the only two significant key targets below are going to be the 2880 level and the 2800 level. Those two are the main targets down below based off of this key range, just to make things very easy. Even if price were to rally again in over the next week or see some sort of bounce, it could be a retest from below that provides an opportunity to sell this thing back to 2880 and 2800, and those are easy targets. This thing could even get back down toward the recent support low here of about 2730. So we could have quite the sell-off here ahead for the ES, and it kind of depends here on how price responds to 2960 and even a retest of 2975, the previous month's close. So if we cannot see any price action or any acceptance beyond that zone, it could be quite a bit of selling pressure ahead. If we take a look at the NQ, we're going to see very similar price action here. This one was a little bit more forecasted for a sell-off after the rally. You can see here that after the FOMC level came out at 79.73.5, we saw a major sell-off. Price rallied yesterday morning and took out the previous session's high by a little bit. Took it out by a little bit, was not able to hold above 8K, and then again the Trump tweets regarding China tariffs came out, and that led to a bull trap and a major sell-off the rest of the session. We have now tested the previous month's low, and again, breaking down below 7800 is very significant. We have an LVN at 7740 as well. That's in play. And if we were to see a bounce back up towards 7835 to 7850, that could provide a lower high that leads to more selling pressure ahead. Now, very similar to the ES here, we have this key range high right here. We have the key range low right there. We formed a box above that zone and are breaking down below it. That opens up the downside targets at 7580 and 7300 as the very clear downside target. So again, if we bounce into this zone, there could be selling pressure that ultimately leads us back towards 7300 ahead. So again, if price cannot reestablish acceptance back above 7835, 7850, that could be tremendously bearish for the market, at least in the near term. Let's take a look now at crude oil. With all the fireworks in the ES and the NQ in the previous session, crude oil almost got lost in the shuffle, but this one was down 8+% at one point in the day. I think it finished lower about 7%. That was a tremendous move. We had been talking about this narrow range here and how a breakout could be tremendous for expansion. We saw the initial breakout to the upside. Price bounced off of the 200 period average at 58.80, reaching just 2 ticks above that level before turning around. Right here, that's your FOMC key level at 58.54. And in the previous session, we had already seen quite a bit of morning weakness, and then once the tweets came out again, major selling pressure ensued. This thing is now attempting to bounce back above, or is currently above, the 55 level. That's a major CLVN in the charts. That's going to be a very important focal point in the chart here. Typically speaking, when you see a significant sell-off like this, followed by an up day the next day, I call that the extreme reversal, straight from my book, Secrets of a Pivot Boss, Chapter 2. That type of signal can oftentimes reverse price back to the origination point of the sell-off. That would be 58. One last thing to note regarding crude oil and all of these markets: after you see an extremely high range day like we did in the previous session, there is usually the sideways digestive type of day that can tend to happen after that trend day. So we could be kind of range bound here, trying to find acceptance above 55s. If we can hold above that zone, perhaps there is a bounce coming back toward 58. Otherwise, any failure to hold above 55 today could be significant and could open up the next downside move into 50 to 51 to retest those recent lows. All right, let's take a look now at gold futures. Now, gold has been extremely bullish. We knew this ahead of time. We had gold as a major breakout candidate on that day. That was an outside reversal, an increase in volatility compared to what we had seen. It was holding the 1270, 1280 zone. That triggered a tremendous rally in the month of June. After that rally, I mentioned that we would likely see range-bound activity throughout the month of July, and that had played out very nicely with higher lows to boot. We've seen PIMA trigger zones that have continued to be honored and defended by bulls time and time again. In the previous session, a bullish outside day. The way I define it, again from Chapter 2 of my book, Secrets of a Pivot Boss, is this low is below the previous low and the close is above the previous high, in addition to being a high range day compared to average daily range. That is a significant combination of events there that usually leads to quite a bit of more strength. So that bullish outside day, followed by today's pullback here, at least early in the day, can open up quite a bit of upside here ahead. You can see an ascending type of pattern. You see the 1460 level now being tested. That right there can open up quite a bit of upside. I mentioned before, as long as price holds above 1375 to 1380, we have a shot to see 1525 ahead, and that's not too far off from where we currently are. That's this level right here, 1525. That could be the target this month for gold, especially if price can hold on to that 1440 level at least early on. So something to think about here. If we can get through 1460, based off of all of this range-bound action we've seen in July, based off of this narrow pivot range for the month of August, that could open up quite a move to the upside. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. I do want to invite you all to my monthly market outlook on August 5th. That is Monday at 3:30 p.m. Central. You can find me at pivotboss.ecofin.co, and it is free to register, free to join. Let anybody know who wants to join that they are welcome to come in and see what we have here. We're going to be analyzing the market for the month of August, including the August seasonality tendencies. We're also going to be looking for candidates here for the rest of the month as well. All right, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.